Hi, welcome to my picture share on child sexual abuse. I'd like to first show my respect and acknowledge to the traditional owners of the land, of elders past and present. And please notice that this material may contain disturbing and upsetting information on child sexual abuse. You may be well familiar with the four types of child abuse in its definition: physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect. But you may not know that it was until the 1980s that child sexual abuse came into public attention on mass media and was recognized as a key issue for child protection. In 1999, World Health Organization defined child sexual abuse as involving a child in sexual activities that he or she doesn't fully comprehend, is unable to give informed consent to, or for which the child is not developmentally prepared. Some examples are grooming, rape, forced prostitution, and exploitative use of children in pornographic materials. It is a severe violence to the basic human rights that upheld by United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and shared by every kid and young person in the world. I know, even hearing some of the terms may be overwhelming, and child sexual abuse do have a devastating and lifelong impact on victims. Physically, it may cause sexually transmitted diseases and unwanted pregnancy. Many mental health issues are also found associated with childhood sexual abuse. Victims felt having their innocence and childhood lost and face extra challenges in personal relationships and parenting their own child. Some do substance abuse, self-harm, and even suicide. And astoundingly, over 40% of child sexual abuse offenders have experienced child sexual abuse themselves. For individual victims, it is a trauma that's hard to escape. For the society, it is a serious social problem that calls for our attention and effort. While we are keen to help young victims by therapeutic early intervention, the sad truth is we seldom know about the abuse until years later or sometimes never. This is because of the covert nature of sexual offenses. And in particular, perpetrator of child sexual abuse tends to manipulate the child's trust and gain their compliance, or use power to threat the child to keep silent. It is estimated that only fewer than 30% of all sexual assaults on children are reported, and the reporting rate is even lower in some vulnerable groups, such as indigenous children and children with disability. Therefore, as many other types of intimate violence, it is never easy to know the true prevalence of child sexual abuse. What we do know is that it's not a case of a few rotten apples. Statistics show that approximately 1 in 3 Australian girls and 1 in 7 boys experience some form of sexual abuse in their childhood. Among these criminal offenses, many of them happened in child care institutions, called institutional child sexual abuse. According to the final report published by Australian Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse after its 5-year investigation, Institutional child sexual abuse happens in places that are supposed to care and protect young kids. It includes the universal organizations like schools, and also out-of-home care and youth detention centers where children may have fewer access to external support. It is a national tragedy, and in response to that, the National Redress Scheme was launched to help survivors of institutional child sexual abuse. So yes, we definitely need to do something to provide our children with a safe environment and the most appropriate response to abuse that has happened. As highlighted in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, states and governments have the duty to safeguard children's rights and promote the recovery and reintegration for children who have experienced abuse. So what are the current legislations and practice in this area in Australia? Well, child protection legislations differ from state and territory, but they share similar guiding principles, such as prioritizing the best interest of the child and promote early intervention. In Victoria, the leading child protection legislation is Children, Youth and Families Act 2005. It defines mandatory report on child sexual abuse or any risk of significant harm. Sex Offenders Registration Act 2004 also contributes by preventing registrable offenders from causing further harms or risk of harm to children. Particularly in the National Framework for Protecting Australia's Children 2009 to 2020, developed by the Council of Australian Governments, the public health approach is introduced as a new model for the country to manage child protection issues. Instead of burdening the statutory child protection system to react to offense afterwards, public health model calls for active protect and prevention in a broader community to actually reduce the occurrence of abuses and stop more children from getting hurt. One example is strengthening the pre-employment screening. In the framework, a nationally consistent working with children checks is recommended. Another example in Victoria is a new program supporting teenage children who are exhibiting sexually abusive behaviors by providing therapeutic intervention earlier to prevent ongoing or more serious sexual offenses. I'd like to end my picture share by this quote in the national framework. Just as a health system is more than hospitals, so a system for the protection of children is more than a statutory child protection service. Every one of us has the responsibility and efforts to make to address child sexual abuse and let every kid and young person live a safe, healthy, and happy life. Thanks for watching. Bye.